There's many ways to approach this particular theme, and most of you who have joined me before know that I love to give direct experience. So how I'd like to begin is just right now here with this moment. So whenever we begin again, it's essential that we remember that the foundation of all spiritual practice is the consciousness that we already are, that they're the foundation of all of life, actually, regardless of what experience is happening. Everything is happening within the realm of consciousness, regardless of how it appears, how it feels, what we think about it, energetically, what we want to do with it. It's all happening in a wider foundation. You could call it the eternal space of you, just what you are always, and with everything that happens within you. So sometimes we need to take a leap and we just allow everything to fall to the side, let all distractions settle, let the breath deepen. And come into this allowance, allowing whatever your experience is to be here. Maybe there's tension in the body, so let the shoulders relax back and open. Maybe there's already a sense of openness and calm. Now, if you're sensing any space that already feels open and calm and at ease, just allow yourself to sink more there. And what do I mean when I say sink? It's just a relaxation. So let yourself relax out of holding, out of needing to make anything happen, needing to make anything different. Just being here right now in the calmness that's beneath whatever might be happening. Now notice as you close your eyes that your focus may shift a little bit more inwardly. So we're allowing whatever's going on the outside, family, work, anything that might call something that you still feel like you might need to accomplish. Just tell yourself that you'll get to that. It will wait for you if it's important. But here we're taking a rest into what's always available. It's like a sea of consciousness. And within that sea, there may be a multiplicity of different kinds of waves and movement and energy. You're the foundation. So the point, which allows us to be fresh, to truly come to a rest, is just this now. So let yourself settle. We're kind of running an experiment here. You could say that meditation is always an exploration, an experiment, to notice what happens when you just give yourself to space of openness, of rest, of ease, of calm. And we're not pushing anything else away. We're not negating anything. We're not ignoring the body or the emotions. All of this might be here, strong or subtle, and without trying to change anything that's happening in your experience, this point of now, the eternal now that's constant and always available, become- and notice how your body responds to this space of now. Just letting yourself be simple. And notice how the energy in your body responds to this space of now. Letting yourself be simple, not needing to attain or accomplish or achieve anything, just now. Notice how your thoughts respond to this spacious now, just here. So when we begin again, there isn't any preparation required. Now we may think that in order to begin afresh, to live freshly, to be enlivened, that there's some kind of requirement or prelude. Well, that would be an add-on, an unnecessary, and in many ways a postponement of experiencing yourself just as you are already, beneath the surface. Now you may notice as you let yourself settle without looking for any particular kind of experience. Because throughout whatever your journey is, whatever your course of spirituality has been, there may be times when you feel a very vivid sense of presence or some heightened sense of awareness or something very, maybe even call it cataclysmic, very profound and heightened. It doesn't mean that that will always be the case. So for now, consider that spirituality, the spirit of you, is a multifaceted jewel with many aspects. But the deepest and most profound is a simple quietude, a depth of rest. And this depth is not numbing in any way. It may actually, as you allow yourself to rest, to kind of deepen in it, you may find that it invigorates. opens and enlivens more territory, perhaps that you haven't been aware of if you've been caught in circular thinking or patterns of movement that take us away from this deeper ground of still. Now, this is your entry point here. I mean, we can forever attempt to sort things out in different realms of our day-to-day experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at a certain point, it may feel very exhausting and defeating even, because we haven't allowed ourselves to drink from a deeper well of infinite potential, of infinite rest. So to begin afresh, to begin again, is a stepping into here, receding, 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 without even thinking about it. You just let it happen. And you notice that if you've been very active in your mind, that's all right, because that also is happening in this wider field of eternity. Nothing is essentially outside of you, including these amazing birds that are hawking outside my window. Messengers of aliveness. Whatever the mind has been attending to, maybe been fixated on a particular so-called problem to solve, let that be okay, because it is. And as you sink beneath that, in any emotional content that may be associated with it, you may sense and feel buzzing and the movement of energy in your body. It's almost as if you're giving these patterns an opportunity to unwind, to be redirected, to settle back down here in the source of their commotion. So every time that you decide to be present, to notice just what's happening now, when you're not sticking to a thought pattern, when you're not trying to solve any particular problem, regardless of what it is, of relating, of a situation that may be challenging, of a particular need to want to express or communicate something to about something that's really important to you. The invitation is to let there be a pause into this entry point right here. Pause and sink, recede, and let whatever fluttering, whatever movement, let it happen. And sometimes when we've been busy sorting things on the outside, there is a possibility during that period to gather other energies. So here, as you sit now, there can be a process of detoxification happening where the mind and the emotions and whatever's been gathered in the body, mind, emotional system, the surface kind of tension can flush out. And with every flushing out, every layer that is lifted, this eternal sense of now has the opportunity to become even more alive, more present, more visible in a sense to the inner eyes, to the inner heart, to this deep ground. All related. We are all related. All is connected. All is arising from this single point of eternity. So to begin again and again and again is to let yourself return here in a wide pause. So you can feel yourself not only softer and open without a protected, guarded heart. Let the heart breathe in the front and in the back. And you let the belly breathe on all sides. And you're not directing anything, but you're just noticing that by choosing to pause, almost trust that the source of you, regardless, it's just always here, this eternal now, that everything is happening here, rising and falling from here. And the freshest space in which to view, know the how, the what. It always comes from this space of letting yourself return to begin again from a fresh perspective, from an enlivened ground. It doesn't leave anything out. So let's just sit together. Know that regardless of where you're located, that in this space we're all connected. And there's a great power in joining without evaluating what that might feel like. Just intuit, sense, feel this deeper space of eternal openness, without needing to give it a quality really. It may feel different, be sensed very different for each and every one of us, just as different as we are in our external expression. Just knowing here, wherever it is that you're landing, is your enoughness, your okayness, your right to be, to be, to be exactly as you are, without any concern about what that means in the future, because the future isn't happening. And when you just be, it has its own magic, its own way of resolving anything from the past. So you don't have to bring anything from the past here with you. If it arises all by itself, then that means that consciousness is bringing it into the foreground for resolution, for clarity, for meeting, for joining. Otherwise, you just let it be, not pushing anything away, allowing whatever is happening in this eternal now to just be as it is. Everything is allowed. All is welcome. There's more than enough here to sustain whatever might be occurring in any given moment. So let yourself rest here, rooted, anchored, the base of the body, allowing this point of eternity to show itself in how it is connected and enlivened by all things. Stay here. You may notice as you stay and just sink in this eternal knowing that is only of itself, knows nothing else in this moment, just itself. That there's a bubbling, the joy that bubbles as the commotion and the movement settles. There's a corresponding bubbling of aliveness, of joy, of calm. So your perception is shifting. Let it happen. Let yourself be reorganized from the inside out. So we come in from the outside, just as a matter of speaking. And then from here, there's a fading of this, a dissolution of separation, of any disconnect, as you're joining with this eternal point of awareness that contains and is all things. This is the joy of existence, meeting itself. Now that's a way of giving words to something that may be being experienced very differently for you. So trust your deepest knowing, the direct knowing of you here. Not outside of anything. You may also notice that you begin again here. That it's as if this infinite space, well, the word I have is bubble, but that's not quite it. But it perfumes, it exudes other layers that may have been held tight on top or have closed something off to have it feel separate or distant or guarded. It's this perfume of this eternal now. It's very fresh and alive. From the inside, it moves and it helps or supports this sense of evaporation, you could say, of layering, of illusion, of cloudedness. So the more that you take the time, and it doesn't really matter, like we've been together for a very short time, and you return here and you let this exuberance perfume the different layers that may have been clouding over. It's just a cloud of a covering. It doesn't really have any essential nature to it. So it can be lifted, it can be clarified, it can be seen through, so that as you return to your ordinary day-to-day existence, you can perceive from a wider, more clear, more energized, more fresh perspective, perception. Now, in many ways, you could say that one way of putting this, at least, is that you perceive from the eyes of God, the eyes of infinity, the eyes of consciousness itself, which doesn't know anything to be different than itself. Not a concept of God or of the goddess, of eternity or of consciousness, but from this field, this point of eternity, this deeper knowing of your essence, the essence of all. Imagine to begin again from here on a regular basis so that when you open your eyes, as I am now for the few minutes that we have left together, I mean, I can't see you, but imagine that each time that you allow yourself to return to this eternal point, I mean, it may at first, I'm calling it a point, but it isn't a point. It's a field. It's a field that connects all points to each other that are really separate anyway. So words really fail here. But to imagine every time that you begin again, like we just did in this experiment that we're calling meditation, this exploration, that then when you open your eyes, you see everyone as God, or everyone as the goddess, everyone as yourself, as a mirror. And then the curiosity can be, what am I presenting to myself? And how do I respond to myself showing up like this, or like this, or like this? How do I relate to myself as God, as the goddess, as the infinite awareness, as the infinite point of eternity, which contains all, everything? So then everything that we meet doesn't have a limitation. It's also, as we are, pure potentiality. So from the past, from a past experience, we may hold something that we're coming into contact with out here in a particular frame of reference that we identify according to our past experience with that situation, that person, that thing, that whatever it is. But if we let ourselves begin fresh, that frame of reference can't be held onto. It's not available. And what opens in front of us is pure potentiality. And so if I'm this, and if I'm truly directly experiencing myself as this, then without a doubt, everything else is this as well. So all there is possibility. Then the past doesn't have to repeat itself. You know, we recreate the past by holding situations, people, places, things, experience in a frame of reference. And then we can have patterns, samsaras, vasanas that relate to that hold it in place. And along with it is emotional content, drama. And then we reenact the past. It might be a little different, but we reenact drama, we recreate drama when it doesn't need to be. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's happening all the time. You look at it, but this is the message that I want to give today about taking the time, just taking a moment to let yourself return to what is the fundamental ground, what is the most important thing. And there's can be a real simplicity to this. There is a simplicity to it when we don't add anything on top. We don't have an expectation. We're not looking for a former experience. We're not comparing ourselves to whatever teacher or whatever we've read in the books. We're just here with everything that's happening. And by not pushing anything away and allowing, eternity is here. It doesn't go anywhere. It's always here. Always. And then open your eyes and see the freshness all around you, within you and around you. And then how do you respond? How do you behave from here? So that's to begin again. So to begin again doesn't have an association with the past, because remember, we allow that frame of reference to be unpacked, to dissolve, to soften, to not be held on to. And then we respond from here, and new information can become available, and we can't even know what that is. You know, there is a challenge sometimes for us to be blank, to let ourselves not know what the next thing will be, and to be patient enough, curious enough to let something else come forward, to let ourselves be informed differently, and to allow, because remember, we're all connected, and to allow this point of eternity to inform itself everywhere around us. Now, I speak of this with passion in a sense, because it's very strong right now in needing to not have a frame of reference for the situation that my life has found itself in. I don't have a frame of reference for it. It's all new, it's all unknown. So I could wrap it around a past frame of reference that might be similar, or gather information and draw conclusions and do a lot of what if or pretending. But that doesn't serve anything. It could weigh us down and be exhausting. And then we create something that isn't actually fresh. It isn't coming from pure potential. So I just want to share a quick story. I think I'm running out of time. Yeah, I am. But I went just this morning to view a day program, kind of a day program for one of my daughters who's 22, so she's a young adult and has special needs. And I've visited many of these kinds of things in the past 22 years. I've been exposed to all kinds of different situations, and there may be at different times where I've held on to ideas about special education, or people with disabilities, or people that work with people with disabilities. the governmental systems, agencies, and the bureaucratic system. But within all of these systems are just people. They're people that are born with infinite potential. And there's been kind of I feel like I've been through a washing machine of squeezing out any old remnants of how I might view something. I remember even as a very young girl, I went to Catholic schools, and I used to see the yellow bus come and pick up I didn't know it was special education. I didn't know what it was. I think I was in first grade. And I'd see the bus picking up these young children that appeared different. And every time I would see it, something cried in my heart. I would cry, and I would have these questions like, why are they being taken somewhere else? Why aren't they in school with the rest of us? And I remember always being very touched by that people with differences are treated differently and not given the same opportunities, or needing to fight or struggle, or work hard, advocate hard for these kinds of things. And now I have two daughters, that are 22 and have had special needs for 22 years. And I've been in many different sides of this life situation to advocate, or to create services, to implement, to work within a lot of different populations, and sometimes very challenged by it. So today I went to visit this particular place, and because my daughter Libby, it's really difficult to find something for her because she's, according to the funding agencies, she's very high need and not easily welcomed into certain situations because of her needs. So right now she spends a good deal of time at home, and I'm her primary caregiver. And then there's my other daughter too, and they're both have their own challenge in trying to create a good situation. So anyways, I went to this one place, and I sat there I was there for about an hour and a half. And it was a very warm welcome. And the woman who invited me to come, she took the time for each person that was there, for them to say hello to me. And it was so beautiful. It was so absolutely beautiful. I was so touched. I'm still very touched. And one girl, she couldn't speak, but she could type onto her computer. And then the computer said, "Hi, Prajna." And then the woman said, "Hey," she even pronounced it properly. And they made a picture for me while I was there. And I talked with a woman who is been involved in this for ever since she graduated from college, and still with so much energy and stamina in it. And they receive very little funding for what they do, and it's a very small, intimate program. And we did some brainstorming together and some speaking. But before I left to say goodbye, I really didn't even want to leave this woman, because I felt I was really meeting myself, someone who has a similar perspective. So before leaving, I just gave her the biggest hug, and also her assistant. And I couldn't help but just cry a little to thank them for this beautiful service that they're bringing to this community and have been for so many years. And they don't receive that much funding. And then I was able to compare that to other agencies that are receiving much more on an hourly basis and doing very little. And I just found it to be beautiful on one hand, very touching, and then also kind of sad on the other hand. And how do this is why I'm offering this meditation, because I'm coming to a place of freshness too, to see, I don't know the next thing to do. I don't know how do you create a service that is sustainable and where people can benefit. and stay in the game of it. And then I saw these people doing it, but I didn't see that they are without struggle. And I didn't see that there is some burnout there too. And then what I saw is the beauty of seeing all of it as not different from myself, and such a celebration in these young people who are being who they are, just being exactly who they are and being celebrated for who they are, and being given opportunities to engage in at the level of functionality that they're at, and seeing and feeling the meaning in that. Yeah, so I went over time, but I'm going to see you over on the Zoom call, I hope. And thank you for tuning in. And I do imagine that we'll be here next week. Thank you for your contributions, your likes, your shares. And I'm still dedicated to creating a program for my daughters once I can continue to begin afresh. I think it will happen. Lots of love to all of you.